Hello everyone, welcome to today's lesson 5.2, the correct selection and wearing of personal protective equipment. This is not only crucial for the life safety of every worker, but also an indispensable part of enterprise safe production. First, let's think about a question. Chemical operator Jawan needs to perform the following work tasks. What type of clothing should he wear for each task? With this question in mind, let's start today's lesson. First, we need to clarify the definition of personal protective equipment, also known as individual protective gear. It refers to various items worn and equipped by workers to protect their bodies from physical, chemical, biological, and other external hazards. These items serve as an important barrier to protect workers from injuries. Next, let's look at the different types of personal protective equipment. There is a wide variety to suit different work environments and potential risks based on body parts. PPE can be categorized into head protection, hearing protection, hand protection, eye and face protection, foot protection, torso protection, skin protection, fall protection, respiratory protection, and other types of protection. Let's start with head protection. In chemical production, the head may face various potential hazards, such as impacts from objects and falling debris. Therefore, a safety helmet is an essential piece of protective equipment. It not only effectively resists these hazards, but also prevents hair entanglement, ensuring the worker's head safety. However, please note that proper wearing is necessary to ensure protection. The 5 helmet wearing methods shown in the left image are incorrect. In work environments where noise levels exceed the standard, prolonged exposure can cause irreversible hearing damage to workers. Therefore, we need to use earplugs or earmuffs as hearing protection to reduce noise impact on hearing. For example, according to China's occupational health standard, occupational exposure limits for hazardous factors in the workplace, the occupational noise exposure limit is 85 decibels for workers who work 5 days a week, 8 hours per day. Wearing earplugs or earmuffs correctly is the key to protecting hearing. In chemical production, the hands may come into contact with various hazardous substances, such as chemicals and high-temperature objects. Therefore, selecting the appropriate gloves is crucial. Chemical-resistant gloves, acid and alkali-resistant gloves, and heat-insulating gloves are all designed to meet the needs of different work environments. Before wearing, be sure to check whether the gloves are intact. To ensure their protective effectiveness for different work scenarios, we need to select different types of eye and face protection equipment. Please try to match the pictures of safety glasses with their corresponding names and functions. In chemical production sites, foot protection is equally important. Protective footwear with anti-impact, puncture-resistant, chemical-resistant, anti-slip, and insulation functions can effectively reduce the risk of foot injuries, especially when handling corrosive chemicals. Chemical-resistant boots are an essential piece of protective equipment. Torso protective equipment is mainly used to protect workers' torsos from chemical, physical, and other harmful factors. Common torso protective equipment includes anti-static clothing, chemical protective suits, and heavy-duty chemical protective suits. They provide effective protection according to different working environments. The question we raised at the beginning of the class. can be answered here. When adding acidic substances into a reactor through a manhole, acid and alkali-resistant clothing must be worn. When recording data at an operational unit site, anti-static work clothes must be worn. When entering a storage tank containing toxic substances for maintenance, a heavy-duty chemical protective suit must be worn. Skin protection products help prevent the skin from being harmed by chemical, physical, and other factors. Common types of skin protection products include anti-toxic, anti-corrosive, radiation-resistant, and paint-resistant types in work environments with fall hazards. Fall protection equipment, such as safety nets and safety harnesses, can prevent injuries from falls from high places. In chemical production, hazardous gases, vapors, and dust can pose serious harm to the respiratory system. Therefore, we need to use respiratory protective equipment to safeguard respiratory system. Common respiratory protective equipment includes dust masks, filter-type gas masks, long-tube gas masks, and positive pressure self-contained breathing apparatus (SCBA). In particular, the positive pressure self-contained breathing apparatus provides workers with a clean air supply in oxygen-deficient or toxic environment, ensuring their safety. Here is a diagram of the SCBA structure. How should a positive pressure self-contained breathing apparatus be properly worn? Let's watch a video.
The positive pressure air breathing apparatus is an essential safety protection equipment for fire emergency escape, suitable for environments with thick smoke caused by fire, toxic gases or vapors, or oxygen content less than 18%. It is necessary to follow the standard procedures during use to ensure personnel safety. Pre-use inspection. First, check the air source pressure. Open the cylinder valve switch. Observe the high pressure gauge and require the air pressure in the cylinder to be 27 to 30 megapascals. Second, check the air tightness of the whole machine system. Open the cylinder valve switch. Observe the pressure gauge reading and then close it. If the pressure drop is no more than 2 megapascals within 1 minute, it indicates that the system has good air tightness. Third, check the residual gas alarm device. Open the cylinder valve switch and then close it. Press the bypass valve of the air supply valve to exhaust slowly. When the pressure drops to 5 to 6 megapascals, the alarm should emit a whistle alarm signal. Fourth, check the tightness of the full face mask. Wear the full face mask. Cover the mask with your hand, take several deep breaths at the interface, and feel difficult to inhale, which proves that the full face mask has good air tightness. Fifth, check the air supply of the air supply valve. Open the cylinder valve switch. Wear the mask air supply valve, take a deep breath, and the air supply valve will open to supply air with a snap. Sixth, check the intact state. 1. The straps and the headband of the full face mask are completely relaxed. 2. The cylinder is correctly positioned and firmly fixed on the backrest. 3. The high pressure pipeline and medium pressure pipeline have no kinks or other damages. 4. The face window of the full face mask should be clean and bright. 5. Connect the quick connector and open the air valve switch. Usage method. First, lean the bottom of the air breathing apparatus cylinder upward on the shoulder. Second, adjust the shoulder straps and fasten the waistband to a comfortable position for the back and abdomen. Third, pull the head net cover from bottom to top, tighten the elastic band, and make the ceiling ring of the full face mask fit tightly against the face. Fourth, take a deep breath, open the air supply valve, breathe several times, and enter the operation area to work after feeling comfortable and having normal breathing. Precautions. First, before use, it is necessary to wear and use after passing professional training. Second, during use, it is necessary to ensure that the cylinder valve is in a fully open state. Third, it is necessary to often check the air source pressure gauge of the cylinder. Once the pointer of the high pressure gauge is found to drop rapidly, or an air leak that cannot be eliminated is found, evacuate the site immediately. Fourth, after hearing the alarm whistle during use, evacuate the site as soon as possible, and remove the mask quickly when reaching the safe area.
Through the video, we can learn that wearing an SCBA involves 10 steps: checking air supply pressure, checking air tightness, checking the alarm whistle, checking mask seal, checking the cylinder valve, checking external appearance, securing the cylinder on the back, turning on the air supply, putting on the mask, and inhaling to activate the system. Students, besides understanding the types and usage of various PPE, we also need to focus on the management and allocation of PPE in enterprises, as shown in the diagram. Employers should provide workers with appropriate PPE based on the processes of identification, assessment, and selection. Different types of work involve different risks, which may lead to specific accidents or injuries. Therefore, when selecting PPE, we need to consider the characteristics and potential risks of the work environment. For example, inflammable and explosive workplaces. The table illustrates the potential accident or injury types and the applicable PPE. Students, let's review today's lesson. We have learned about the classification, usage, and management of PPE. We focus on the proper way to wear an SCBA and the principles of PPE selection. That concludes today's lesson. Thank you all.